Here we are again, part 2 of the sway back series with the trusty old glute band, which every sway back saggy baggy butt needs to utilise to get that activation that makes the difference daily to their posture that has a natural bent towards lax and low tone. Sway backs, we're standing. Obviously the standing position is trying to get you to connect the ground and your foot. Your foot position as a sway back wants to be a good arch, which a lot of sway backs end up quite fallen in the arch. So you're taking your load to the outsides of your feet. You're taking your load if stood in sand and creating an imprint that is strong in the heel, the outside of the foot, and all the way through, and lighter on the ball of the foot where the big toe leads to. If you meet sway backs often, they have this kind of overuse of that joint and often end up with soreness. Some people call it bunions, whatever. Whichever way, there's a way of unloading that joint and taking the load to where it's appropriately going to ground you from the heel. That then leads you past the front of the knee, which is what you also need to do. Often sway backs have poorly knees, all the way up into the back part of the posture, which is the hamstring and the glute. So yes, we'll always start with a squat. It's the most functional move you can do. And to get your setup, obviously you need your pelvic neutral, you need the sense of the open chest area, upper back connection, and you're already thinking of the closure of the gap between pelvic floor coming up between the sitting bones and the pubis, and the rib cage coming down, and finding that strength behind the belly button, the navel. I'm going to turn sideways for you. You'll take your feet wide enough to make use of the glute band. I would say today we'll put our thumb on our ribs even in the standing position, fingertips to the hip bones, as you start to explore grounding the body from the heel to the sit bones. There's that gentle connection with the band, encouraging your thighs to pull away lightly. You're not trying to break the band, you're wanting to connect with it. It's not the knees that pull against the band, it's these bigger boys here, the side glute med and other abductors that make up the side profile here, which often is a poor relationship to movement quality. Inhaling very deliberately and exhaling. Go back to the imagery about pushing in and out of sand. You want to create a great indentation to the heel, the outside of the foot, the outside of the foot from the little toe area ball of the pad, and an even lighter awareness of the big toe joint, because that's where you tend to spend your life. We're breathing in and out, we're measuring to stop that change in spine shape. Again, we've talked yesterday about this sway back, not always knowing where the pelvic ends and how when movement, in this squatting, it doesn't come from the lower back. You're reorganising your sensory awareness of which muscles and which joints, which bones are moving for a correct functional squat. So keep this going. The hinging of your hip, the staying level from hip bone to hip bone left to right, the refusal to not support the lumbar spine with the deep abdominal connection, which is pelvic floor origin, is what this is all about. You'll stay down in this squat and get the thigh bones pulling against the band. Keep the breathing going, and on the next breath out, without doing a bum squeeze, do a pelvic tilt, where it's a really small movement. Now, if you had nowhere to go, you were already tucked under. Inhaling, and sense the tailbones coming back again without it being your lumbar spine. The breath out, you shrink hollow, and feel that gentle activation of the internal oblique, inhaling and back. If your fingertips are on the hip bones, as you breathe out, push into your heels, then feel the pelvic floor engaged to get your internal oblique to give you that gentle imprinting back to neutral. Once you've established neutral, you're going to push up to stand, and we're going to take the exercise. You can stay as you are. I'm just going to face the front to give you awareness. The next activity is to come up and tap. So your foot's going to just slightly push away from where it was. You'll go down into the same width of the squat, keeping the thighs reaching sides, and you'll tap. We're now emphasising more abductors, but the posture needs to stay in neutral, The slower you do this, the more accurate it's going to be. Now, if you were really unsteady, because this demands ankle stability as well as pelvic stability. Both go hand in hand, is the truth. The more unstable you are in your ankle, we can guarantee the less activity you've got going on in your glutes. So you could have a roller here. The crucial element is this moment here, where you go into your squat, that's everything uniform, and then tap. That takes the emphasis into slight different sides. Down into your centre, up. To your centre, up. Level 1 of star. You're not trying to kick the band like a Rosemary Connolly video. There's nothing wrong with them. It's not what we're doing. You're activating the side glute area. Now, as you get more proficient, you can see if it can go to a balance. And so the pushing leg has to be grounded through the ankle, outside of the foot, so it's back to that sensation of not being in your toes, but using your foot to encourage an arch. If the ankle is stable, you'll be able to do this. Remember, you could have the roller on its end, or you could have a work surface. What does matter is that you come up tall and that you don't stay down here. It's not that it's wrong to stay down there, but you don't live down there, you live here in an upright position. Okay. As you're doing this, the side glute, the abductors, side hams, side quad area are all getting involved appropriately. Remember, on the squat, you can't let your knees roll in and give into that expansion of the band. Keep the pelvic floor involved. You've got one more each side. You want to aim for really 10 on each side and probably about 20 squats. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to turn sideways again. You can stay as you are. Keeping that space that allows you to abduct. We're going to do roll down. Again, another activity that sway backs tend to blur. Find a baby squat. Make it a good one. You don't have to be deep. You just have to have the right angles going on and the load in the heels. So sway back tends to want to bend from here without bothering with this part of the spine, which is the neck to the mid-thoracic. We're going to bend appropriately. Put your hands on your thighs, keep your elbows bent, breathe in. Breathing out. Ground yourself through pelvic floor, not squeezing bum. Breathe in again. Breathing out, let the chin nod to the throat. That's your circle spine. Breathe in again. Breathing out, let the chin, throat, rib cage, breast, pecs, flex. So now you've gone from the base of the rib cage behind you to the base of the skull. The lumbar spine is not involved in that bend. Breathe in and out. And as you breathe in and out, see if you can add the rib cage to disappear those last couple of ribs. Don't squeeze your glutes, which is your top oblique area, creating that bend. Okay, and then from there, remember you can practice that many times. From there then, we're going to appropriately go down in the direction of the ground, shrinking the abdominals away from the clothing or from the thighs. Your legs are still bent, your back is flattened here from sacrum to the lumbar area. Exhaling then, we take the attention to the hamstring, and you're only meant to push into your heels and press the back of the knee straighter as you feel the compression of navel to spine, navel to spine. If you move the legs, thinking only of your legs, you may as well just do a stretch any old how, rather than one that connects you from the heel all the way up to the head. People, the next time your legs bend, stay and find yourself straight onto hands and knees. Right, your hands and knees position. In fact, I had a plan. Use the head cushion so that your face wants to stay over that head cushion. If you haven't got one, don't worry, but next time round you can find one. I'm using the sides of a mat to spread my hands. Remember, we spread the fingers. It's like the toes and the foot. The heel of your hand is very much like the heel of your foot. You go from your heel of the hand towards the little finger, spread all the fingers down and distribute the weight equally. You keep your breast area mid-pec line between your thumbs. Have a look at where your knees are, and they should be gently wide, feeling the thigh band activated without too much intensity. You're going to your breath, in and out. On the first breath out, draw your shoulders away from your neck, and then breathe in and pull your shoulders in the opposite direction towards the neck. Exhaling, empty of air, and pull your scapula away from your neck. Yes, you're in neutral, or if you're not sure about neutral, you're in a relatively flattened back position as you learn how to core connect. As my scapula, shoulder blades, draw down the back, I push into the heel of my hand and experience muscles that go over the back fat at the back of the armpit. Okay. You're going to try and keep the armpits connected with your lats. In other words, you keep your shoulder blades down but your back square. Breathing in and out then. Core connect belly button to spine and unload one arm and reach it sideways. And inhale and return it back. Exhaling to the ground, other arm and back. Keep this going. So, sway back posture, Mr. Sway back posture. Your obliques do not want to operate. This activity is not about the arms, it's about you firing up your center and feeling the oblique as one arm goes out and feeling the opposite oblique as the other arm goes out. If you analyze this then, the breath out starts to initiate and you can feel the exchange the body makes as long as your pelvic floor, navel to spine, and your shoulders don't suddenly bunch up. Okay, this time keep one arm out. Breathe. So with my right arm out, my right knee, shin becomes heavier, my left armpit and heel of the hand become heavier, and I can feel the oblique happening one side more than the other, and there's nothing in my back. And then do the other side. Breathe. And you may find, keep breathing, that one side is a more natural connect than the other. Your aim is to create a bit of an L shape from the side rib to the side hip across the hip bones, and let that go. We're not resting just yet. We now wake up the legs, check that they're still parallel. They're not going to come narrow as you push away, tapping the ground, and slowly draw the foot back. Exhaling. Core connect, extend, and inhale, flex. So you're back to pelvic floor, navel to spine. Now, if you do this activity as described with a mindful connection to your body and the breath out being more dominant than thinking about the move itself, you'll start to be cued by the connection the breath out makes, and that frees up the pelvic joint to allow the thigh bone to move independently of the pelvis. So the other sway back thing is you tend to want to move the pelvis and the thigh bone at the same time. So the hip bone stays absolutely level left to right, front and back, as the thigh bone articulates against a stable pelvic base. So you've trunk stabilization, and last time. Okay, allow your elbows to go back, have a little moment there. That's plenty, we're visiting all fours again. Your next position is side lying. Now the best way to understand this, I'm going to take this pad out of the way a moment. You're going to lie on your side without thinking. So if there was no pad, put that out of the way so you can see. A sway back without correction is more of a banana. So not only you saggy baggy butt, you look like a banana. No, if you were to have a true line on the mat and you were to have an aerial view of you, every single sway back I know ends up with the heels behind and they feel quite comfortable. And when I correct them, they go, "You've just bent me." I go, "No, I've just made you straight." So the first thing to do is just lie sideways and see if you can naturally float the legs off the floor, okay? Then have a look and check that your heels align with the hips, with the armpit and the shoulder, and it should be as natural as anything just to balance there. All right, without the waist shifting. We're not going to start there. That was just your little test as a sway back. You can try it on both sides at another time. It's how I would confirm my diagnosis of posture analysis on someone's posture. We're starting this side lying series in the book shape. So you've got a book. That means your shins are level with the side of the mat you've chosen. Your hips are level with the pelvis, the pelvis into the shoulder armpit area, and your waist is off the floor on the side you're lying. Feel the tension on the bend, keep that 90 degrees at the hip, and are you ready? Breath out is the push up against the band, inhale and lower down. Exhaling, and inhale. We're going to do 8 of each of these little exercises. You're back now against gravity, activating everything that is known as abduction muscles. As you push the underneath leg on the ground, as you honour the pelvic area through pelvic floor, the oblique here, if you put your little fingertips in, you'll feel it fire up deep inside the hip bone, along with this activation. Nothing in the lumbar spine. If it's in the lumbar, the chances are you've gone to your imprint. All right, you've got 3 more here. 2 more. Use your breath out to expand the band and make that connection. Have a check that you haven't rolled backwards and stay. Now the heel's going to tap the other heel and create a lateral moment, and then it's going to go back to your bookend. You could put your fingertip on your knee if you want, but don't do this rolling through the hip. Your ability to turn out, that's a turn out thigh bone, and come back is personal to your shape of pelvis. And as we get older, that shape restricts movement. So never over egg it. And think of the thigh bone rotating. Waist stays off. You're still mindful of everything that's called trunk stabilization inside lying balance. 1 more. And then you're back to the bookend, 90 degrees band activation. Now push to straight and pull back to bend. Exhaling. You'll find your leg wants to drop. Resist it dropping. Keep the space between the thighs and keep the alignment so that when the knees come back, they're level knee to knee. And as your leg goes out, it's simply going straight down, vertical to the hip. 3 more. Use your breathing to trunk stabilize rather than thinking you're doing a leg exercise. And this is your last one. Welcome to your abductors, and let that go. Okay, you're back to hands and knees. Let's turn around, ready for the other side of side line. Check your band stays up, mine just dropped down. Remember with this band, if it's too intense, then take the band higher up towards the hips itself, and that will reduce some of the intensity. Your hands are spread like you've understood. Your face is over that head pad, giving you a visual clue, and your thigh bones are parallel. Now you've got the exhaling to hamstring curl, inhaling to tap. How does it work? You're in a neutral pelvis, or the sensation of flattened lower back is it. You're keeping your shoulders away from the neck. You're pushing your heel to the sky and then pulling your thigh back to a hinge. Again, the sensation of pressing the ground away with the shin of the leg that's not moving and the right heel of the hand of the leg side that is moving should ground you and allow the obliques, remember the obliques on a sway back are relatively weak, usually long. 2 more. So you'll feel your hamstrings and your bikini line gently stabilizing. Other side, exhaling. This isn't about how hard, it's about stabilizing the pelvis and moving under the thigh within the hip. Usually what I see here is the body twisting to get more range. It twists at the hips. If you stay grounded through the left armpit, if it's your left leg moving, and grounded through the right shin, and breathe and move on the exhale, you should resist the natural determination to lose the pelvic stability just because as a sway back you're not quite sure where it is. Okay, this is your last one. And let that go. Finally, in this all-fours position, you're going to tuck your toes under your feet, exhale and do a forwards chin to chest. Breathe again, your thighs want to feel as though they're still finding the band. Then exhale and bend the last 3-4 ribs without the lower back shifting. So now I've got a flattened-ish lumbar, but not rounded, but a rounded upper thoracic. Exhaling then, I'm ready to push the ground away. I hover my knees and stay. Exhale again, shrink the ribs under the navel, but don't tuck your bottom under. Keep a gentle connection with your band. Push with the heels of the hands and keep the breath, pulling that rib cage that you hate using into forwards flex, forwards flex. The lower back stays true. 4 more, 3 more, 2 more. My lower back isn't bending, it's my forwards bend. Heel of the hands and let that go. Well done, that should have taken you top oblique into upper body. Ready for the other side of side lying. Using a head cushion or not, it doesn't matter. You find your straight line, and then you find your legs bend, and you're in your book position. Remember, both sides are different. Never think, just because you can do one side and easy setup, you can do the other. Stacked shoulders, hips, 90-degree thigh bone to trunk, and find that space where we get activation. From there then, go back to your breathing, stabilizing you laterally, so it's side stability. And again, obviously on a sway back, these don't know where they are, and the obliques tend to not really want to bother. The ability to keep the neutral is measured by the underneath area, and the alignment through the hip. My left hip always wants to twist backwards, so I have to be really conscious of my knees being level. As you imagine this band pulling up, you think of pulling down on that one there, okay? I suspect we're getting quite tired. Are you ready now? Keep the band space, and then heel, and heel. So, I felt my hip roll. Remember, the rotation needs to originate. You could even help that knee turn up and down. It comes from the insertion of the thigh bone into the pelvis. Just simply by keeping this space between the band. So already this side is clearly weaker. Already I can feel the fibers going, oh my goodness, Tanya, please stop. If you can't do any more, you just rest. I'm going to encourage. You can't go beyond what you can achieve. One more good one and that should be enough. And then we go straight and parallel space. Exhale, reach, inhale and breathe out and breathe in. If this is accurate, it's all through the side thigh. You've got to make sure your knee doesn't drop down. You're leading with your thigh bone and your heel follows the thigh. So don't lead with your feet in your mind. Lead with the thigh bone following through to your heel. Keep the abduction against the band. Keep this leg pulling down. Waist off the floor. This is your last one. And push. And let that go. Okay, that's all we have time for today. You can go into a crouch position just to free up and ease off. And in this shape, breathe. Inhaling and exhaling. To end the moment with a sense of grounded symmetry, release of the very area that you've tried to wake up. I hope that makes sense. The aim would be that on this series of sway backs, yesterday being the abdominals along with the bridging, today was the all fours along with the sides, tomorrow will be a build of the sides with standing. So if you can put both together, you can put all three together, or you can tack this type of workout onto one of the other more generalist, still very, very relevant workouts. All that remains for me to say is have a great day and give us feedback. We will be going through all the different posture types, and I suspect I'll get to the stage where I probably give you a bit of a very technical understanding with more words about how to understand your posture, whichever it is. All right, have a great day, and it's a goodbye from me with my band.